Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. This video is going to be so important, and if this is the first time we met, my name is David. I've helped build over 150 websites, and I've probably touched over 1,000 websites on Squarespace. So I'm going to walk you through font and font pairing. This can get really complicated really fast, but I'm going to try and make this as useful as possible if you are building your first site, or if you're a designer just getting started and you're building a few sites but you don't know how to choose fonts for your clients. This is going to be so helpful. So first and foremost, I'm here on my demo website, and in Squarespace on the new 7.1 platform, they make it really easy for you to be able to choose a font pair. You might want to customize some things, all of that. The first thing I'm going to recommend you do, you're on a page where you could see a few examples of what the font is going to look like, what it's going to feel like on the page, and the overall styling of headers and body text. Now, if you want a design page, I have this thing called the Designer Starter Kit, and I'm not even trying to pitch you this early in the video, but I do want to tell you we have this. It's available, and it's part of our Designer Starter Kit. So check the link down below. You could learn more about it and get it. This gives you access to everything that you'll need to customize and design on the site, so you don't have to go back and forth a ton of times. You will save so much time with something as simple as this. But let me go back to my site here. So you want to make sure you have some content here that you could reference as you go. Once you do that, you'll be in the design panel, and then you'll click site styles. Once you're in here, you'll click on fonts, and now the magic begins. All right, so there's a few key things. Number one, you're going to want to keep the base size around 16 to 19 pixels. You don't want to go below 15. That's my recommendation from an SEO perspective. The lower you go there, the harder the font is to read, the user experience gets worse, all of that. So 15 is probably the lowest. I'd recommend 16 for 90% of websites. And if the font itself is just a little bit small on its own, you could go all the way up to 19 as the base font. Everything is going to get based off that font. Now, we can go here and click on this like font pack and go to switch. I'm going to talk through these, but before I talk through these, I kind of want to just show you what your options are. Number one, you could come in here and choose any of these packs and say, hey, I really like this one. Let it load. Once it's done, you go back, you hit save. For some reason today, Squarespace doesn't seem to be saving the fonts as you do it. So I'm going to have to hit save, and then I'm going to have to refresh it to actually see it. Don't know why it's doing that. Don't think it does that all the time. But as you can see here, once I saved it and I refresh the page, it's good to go. So let me go back into this and go back into fonts. So whatever you choose there can be a starting point. But once you choose that, you could further customize it down here. Let me zoom into this and show you what we're looking at. Global text styles are the headings, paragraphs, buttons, and then miscellaneous. And then there's some other stuff you could assign styles to. So for headings and paragraphs, what are we talking about? Let me show you this kit here. You can see you have heading 1, heading 2, 3, and 4. And then for body text, you have this paragraph 1, 2, 3, and 4. Buttons are here, whatever font you want to choose for buttons. And then miscellaneous styles, let's take a look. That's going to be like your site navigation, like this text here. It's going to be like one-off little texts in different parts of your site, maybe like the read more button or this like metadata up here. So they're asking what you want that to be. And then if I go back here to assign styles, this is, site title, which is this. Mobile site title, which is this on mobile. Site navigation, which is this. Header button, if you have a button in the navigation, let's see, I don't have one here. But if you have a button in the navigation, announcement bar, that's self-explanatory. Content link, block, don't really use that. Menu, all that. Newsletter, quote, form, blog, different layouts. There's a ton of stuff here. This stuff you could customize later. Let's focus in on the main things. All right, now, how do you choose fonts? Let's talk about, this is like phase 2 or part 2 of this video. How are you going to choose fonts for your website? Well, there's a few things you need to consider. Number one, this font here is really hard to read. If you want to be super trendy and cool, it could work, but it's actually really hard to read. So the things you want to look at when you're looking at fonts. If you're looking at sans serif fonts, they're going to be really nice and clean. Overall feel is going to be nice. Now let's take a look at a few of these and I'll tell you how I think about them. So let's take a look at this grotesque. Any kind of grotesque font is going to be really beautiful. It's going to look strong. So you can see here, it looks really nice. It's really strong. This font is pretty big in its size. This looks really nice. One thing to notice is the letters are wider than normal, if that's the way I could say it. They're a bit wider, so they take up a little bit more space. When you get into like some types of like cosmetic companies or like more elegant, the wider, more like sophisticated look. This comes out with like a more sophisticated look in this styling. So I think the body text here in this looks really nice for what we're looking at. This font right here is a little bit big, but overall this looks really nice. Again, this font a little bit big, we could adjust that, but it looks nice, pretty easy to read, which is great. Let's try a few more. Let's go to work sans. If you're doing a tech company or anything that's a modern business, it has an appeal for something modern. This is really nice. Like, I always love work sans. I'm really biased to it. If it's a consultant, if you are, in the technology space, if you're trying to look modern, work sans works really great. It's going to stand out. It's going to be clean. They have a ton of styles. So the weight of the font, I think, goes all the way from 100 to 900. So you got a lot of options there. A few other to look at. Let's just take a look at this so you can see it. Obviously wide. Again, really wide font. Don't recommend it a ton. In this case, it could work for this like blog feel. Wide text is a little harder to read, but it's good for headings like this. It's really trying to make a statement. And you don't need your font to make a statement, but this one's trying to make a statement. So if you need that header to make a statement, great. One thing you'll notice is the body text is pretty plain. And you want the body text to just be plain. You don't need it to be fancy. Now, if people are really going to spend a lot of time reading on your site, or you want something more feminine or more elegant or more organic, you could go for a serif. So let's take a look at a few of these. So as you can see here, this font here looks a lot more elegant, looks more crisp and clean. It's a great starting font. Let's take a look down here. Again, this looks great for the blog. Like, this would actually work really well. Some stuff that probably wouldn't work well. This is just too complicated. It's really hard to read. It's really pushing like, oh, we're really branded. And I just don't recommend that if you're trying to launch. You want to make it as easy as possible to read when you start out. That's kind of why I'm staying away from these at the top. These are cool, but this is just like, it's really a demanding font. Like, this is just a lot. And if you're trying to look super cool, possible, but I kind of say stay away from this if you're just starting out. This looks nice. This looks like a travel type of font or like a luxury style type of font. Yeah, like even the word luxury here looks nice. Like, this can definitely work. Again, the body font is pretty boring. You don't want the body font to be complicated. So let's take a look at this. This one's really nice. New Spirit Condensed has a really nice feel. It has more of that organic feel, but when you pair it with this like body font, it's really nice. This body font would be really good for a designer, a graphic designer. Designer probably knows what font they want, but a graphic designer, or like if you're a photographer or an illustrator or someone who's in the arts, this could look really nice, especially because it has this like mono style font for the body text. It's a nice mono that's easy to read. The spacing is decent. Like, it looks good. Overall, this is really easy to read. Roasted cauliflower and garlic dip. The ampersand sign has a cool like tail at the end of it. It's really clean. Some of them that might be a little harder to read on this initial like. This could work. Again, this feels very forced. If you're really trying to pop as a brand, you could use something like this. Again, this too, way too much in my opinion, especially for all the headers. I might do it for one header, but this is a lot. This is really hard to read. If you're really trying to stand out and be cool, if you're doing a conference, if you're doing like a church event sometimes, this could work really well, but it just depends on really what you're going for. And if legibility and readability is a high priority, these are not the fonts to go with. So you really want to just prioritize those things and go from there. I'm going to pick one of these that we can use for the site. And I got to say this. Unfortunately, this font is beautiful, Poppins, but because Squarespace has made it its default font for like templates, I just recommend not using it. Not because I don't really care if someone goes to your site and sees it, but the font is almost becoming overplayed because it feels branded. But then if you see it on 10, 15, 20 websites as a regular consumer, you kind of feel like they're the same brand. They're not going to connect. For me, they don't connect. I would probably stay away from Poppins if you could. If that is the brand design, go for it. But I'd probably stay away from it for now. Let's take a look at this. I love grotesque fonts. So this is really clean. Even like the title here, it's boring. One thing you could do here for this is make the title bold. And that will have a nice look and feel overall. So let's take a look at one or two more, and then we'll go from there. Let me see. That's okay. Let's take a look here. This could work really well for this feel. Yeah, this could work really well. Let's try one more. Let's try this one. This looks really nice. I'm going to go with this for now. I'm going to change this font or style or something, but this looks really good to start. So now I'm going to go back, and now you could go into the individual settings and change styling and format. So here you can see again, heading, paragraph, buttons, and miscellaneous. Now, when I go into heading, you're going to see there's these options right here. These change for all the headings. And then down here is the size for each one. So if your heading 1 is like way too big, 6 rem is just way too big, well, you could tone that down. I don't know if I have a heading 1 on this page. I don't think so. So it wouldn't really change. I can't really show you that. But I'll show you a few things. Right here's the weight. This is what I was talking about a moment ago. You could change the weight of one of the fonts. So just like that, this looks better already. But the one problem is if I change it here, it's mandatory across everything on your site. So a different way of doing this is just you keep this at 400 where you like it, maybe 400, maybe like 500. I'll start with 500, but then when I'm done, let me get out of this editor. Let me go back to the main editor here. I could go into this text here and then just do Command B and make this bold. So then that can be bold rather than everything. And this here, what is this? This is H3. That's the problem. I will make it paragraph 1. So I'll do that. Actually, the alternative here, let's do this again. I'll make this paragraph 1 and then make that bold. I'd probably move this up because the size of the font is just pretty big. Boom. Okay, cool. I'll just save that for now as an example. I'm not 100% sold on this. I think this definitely needs some more work. Perfect. So now we have this feel. So these headings are just like thin, but this one here is bold, and I just controlled it manually. So I'll go back into site styles, look at the fonts again, and then go to headings and then take a look here. I could change the line height. I could change the letter spacing. Typically, I don't recommend going far with the letter spacing, like starting at 0. This is like negative a little bit. 0 could be a good starting point. That can work. I think that's fine. The negative 0.02 could work as well. And then you could come in here and play with the font sizes. That's why it's good to have all of these listed here so you could easily see how they lay out and then adjust the actual size. Because if I adjust this right now, nothing changes, but I actually might not like it. So let me go back. There we go. So you can see H3 here if I change that. So all these rem are based on the base font that we used. I used base twice, but that base size here, all of these fonts are based on that. So this is 18, so 17, that's what 16 looks like. It's great. Readability, I think 18 is a great starting point for this. Looks really good. Paragraph text, you could come in here, do the same thing all over again. Paragraph 1, 2, and 3, you have all these fonts to change. Paragraph 3 should not go below 1 rem. And ideally, you keep everything in a hierarchy. So the biggest font should always be H1. The smallest font should always be paragraph 3. It should never go out of order, and that's for SEO purposes. So definitely keep that in mind while you're doing it. So there's a lot that we've covered in this video. Overall, my biggest recommendation for you, if you're still watching this video to this point, is going to be to really focus in on getting fonts that are clear and easy to read. Don't overthink it. Don't try to overdo it. If you want to really use a different font than what's listed in these font packs, you can do that. So let's just say I don't like the heading here, but I like the paragraph font. I could go to this heading font section, and then the family, I click on that, and then I can go to browse all fonts. They really hide this because they want you to just like go for it, but they have a ton of fonts that you can choose from. Now, personally, I really recommend keeping it simple, but if there's a Google font you like, or there's an Adobe font that you really like, there are so many in here. So you can come in here, type in a font. I don't even know what I'm typing in. Let's just say I really want it. Nah, what should we try? Let's type in a grotesque, and I'll see if I could replace it with a grotesque I might like. I'm not really sold on it, but I'll just go for it for now so you can see it. Boom. So I've added in that font. I can see what it looks like for headings. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I like it. We're good to go. Now the whole site is set up, and it's a beautiful feel. The body text has some interesting like styling, like this G is really cool. The heading text is clear. It's really easy to read. Beautiful. All of it's set to go. I am good to go. So check the links down below. I may publish an article on the best font pairs for different categories. So check the links below because there will be something there eventually. And also our designer starter kit is like 1 in a million tool. That's perfect if you're designing on Squarespace. Whether you're just designing one website or you're gonna become a designer, it's a great starting point for you to learn so much about Squarespace in a short amount of time and get the best from the platform. If you got value from the video, hit the like button. If you want more content like this, subscribe. We publish 3 new videos a week. And with that, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.